to an African request to build capacities for international ABS negotiations, the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, in short, the BMZ, and the Dutch government funded this first workshop. Participants identified ABS-related capacity needs and took stock of bioprospecting in Africa. Based on their positive feedback, the two donors decided to continue their support. In 2006, the ABS Capacity Development Initiative for Africa was officially launched at the COP, the Conference of the Parties 6 in Curitiba.
And the issue here is mutual respect. Is there mutual respect?
This was the first of a total of 9 Pan-African ABS workshops so far. They are a perfect way for over 100 participants to share updates and experiences on ABS processes. At this specific workshop, the Sanhudia ABS case of South Africa stimulated discussions on basic elements of benefit sharing. For the first time, African business entered into dialogue with representatives from governmental institutions, civil society, local communities, and academia.
We are using these words to help us. What we are leading to, we are leading to help Cote d'Ivoire.
The outcome was a joined vision on ABS implementation in Africa. Retrospectively, an important step towards a joint African vision for the Nagoya Protocol negotiations.
And my expectations were met, absolutely. I've learned a lot about practical experiences in a number of countries and experiences with what is working, but also what are the constraints and the obstacles for different stakeholders, not only governments, but all those involved in access and benefit sharing. So I'm very happy to. I can carry back that this was an excellent illustration of how to move from policy to implementation. And it's with concrete activities such as this one that I think we contribute to raising awareness and to exchange of information, experiences, which eventually will lead to the implementation of the convention at a wider scale.
This was the first sub-regional ABS workshop just for Francophone African countries. Over 50 participants identified steps towards ABS implementation in Central Africa, including a roadmap for the Biodiversity Working Group of the Central African Forest Commission, in short, COMIFAC. A closer look at the Prunus africana example, starting from the bark as the natural resource to the actual pills, made the concept of an ABS value chain more tangible. These efforts led to the development and ministerial adoption of a regional ABS strategy for the COMIFAC member states. Furthermore, attendees discussed essential points for a joint African position in the ABS negotiations. This was the first briefing the initiative organized to support African delegates in the preparation and coordination of negotiations for the international regime on ABS. Providing technical briefings, space for coordination, and French-English interpretation was key for the negotiation phase, which lasted until 2010. As a result, the African group negotiated at eye level and spoke with one voice. In all sub-regional or Pan-African workshops, learning from real ABS cases is a central element.
Partaking this thing. So now that it's really in our law.
During the third Pan-African workshop, participants exchanged views with researchers involved in a large-scale botanical collection program in northern Madagascar. This collection program had a significant positive impact on national biodiversity research capacities. On a broader scale, participants provided guidance for the initiative's second program phase from 2009 to 2011 and continued to elaborate joint inputs to international negotiations and technical expert groups.
Il faut regarder de près celle sur la
National ABS focal points and ABS experts stated, "When we are addressing ABS issues, we are not understood by anyone. Not by politicians and administrators, the national research community, IPLCs, private sector, nor the media. It is indeed a great challenge to get the ABS concept across to different stakeholders in a comprehensive way." This expert meeting in Nairobi laid the foundation for the ABS communication strategy of the initiative. The 2012 Communication, Education, and Public Awareness Guide on ABS provides background information and hands-on tools for targeted messaging to different stakeholder groups. Today, an updated version of the so-called SIPA guide is available in 4 languages. We are in the final year of international ABS negotiations. Briefings on the implications of this process for national and global environmental governance became increasingly important. Key stakeholders had to come to agreement on key positions and the negotiation strategy of the African group. Ministers and senior officials of 38 African countries therefore came together to exchange views with European ministers and officials on critical issues. For instance, participants demanded a single legally binding international ABS regime in the form of a protocol at the upcoming COP. As with the higher political level, African IPLCs met prior to COP-10 to discuss their specific views on the status of negotiations of the draft ABS protocol. Their recommendation on traditional knowledge and biocultural community protocols, better known as BCPs, as a means of participation in ABS processes was fed into the final preparations by the African group of negotiators. Besides this important political outreach, IPLC representatives exchanged practical experiences with the development of BCPs and identified urgent protocol needs.
The Nagoya Protocol, adopted in October 2010, now offers all stakeholders the chance to develop fair cooperation. It contains provisions on access to genetic resources, traditional knowledge, and the fair and equitable sharing of benefits.
With the adoption of the Nagoya Protocol, the focus of the initiative shifted towards national implementation. To that end, participants from 48 African countries identified and substantiated 8 fields of action at the 5th Pan-African Workshop. These fields must be addressed when defining national ABS policies, developing regulatory frameworks, and agreeing on participatory approval processes. Participants acquired some relevant hands-on knowledge during a field trip to the world-famous Argonne Biosphere Reserve, where they learned about R&D processes, governance aspects, local resource stewardship, and permitting systems. Funding from the European Development Fund, the regional scope was extended to include the countries of the Pacific and Caribbean. 2 respective regional Inception workshops were organized to pave the way for specific support roadmaps. These included different formats such as exchange fora, training courses, and tailor-made support to national ABS implementation processes. With many small island developing states in the ABS initiative portfolio, marine bioprospecting is now high on the agenda, as also, but not exclusively expressed by the Oceania Biodiscovery Forum. A key focus of the 6th Pan-African was on the development of Regional African Union ABS guidelines. In 2011, the African Union Commission, in short the AUC, commissioned the ABS initiative to undertake a gap analysis of existing ABS-relevant instruments on the regional level. Workshop participants made recommendations on how to place the results of the analysis onto the AUC's political agenda. Subsequently, upon request of the AUC, the initiative supported the drafting of policy and technical guidelines which were adopted by AMCEN and endorsed by the AU Executive Council in 2015. Another focus of this workshop was to analyze concrete bioprospecting cases, among them scientific and commercial research cooperation projects, and, being at the foot of Mount Cameroon, potential ABS triggers to the Prunus africana value chain. At the third out of 4 business dialogues to date, policymakers and regulators discussed business models of different industrial sectors. In particular, access needs, the role of intellectual property rights, and varying scales of investments. The idea for the dialogues was already born in the mid-2000s based on the positive experience with initial dialogues between African ABS negotiators and European business representatives. The dialogues are designed to create a level playing field between North and South and enable constructive exchanges between regulators and users on technical and political matters. Implementing the International Plant Treaty and the Nagoya Protocol in order to ensure clear decision-making processes and legal certainty for providers and users remains a major challenge. In partnership with Biodiversity International, the initiative brought together focal points of both instruments in one workshop. This innovative approach proved to be an efficient way to create awareness on the need for supportive implementation of the 2 related and overlapping instruments. Joint processes and even implementation-oriented projects were triggered in some cases. Faced with a changing regulatory landscape, enterprises ask the ABS initiative to provide guidance on how to access genetic resources in Africa. For instance, in 2012, the French fragrance and aroma company The Monfils intended to access the roots of Echinops giganteus for R&D purposes in a Nagoya-compliant way, despite the fact that there was no national ABS regulation in place yet. As requested by MAN, the initiative facilitated the negotiation process, provided technical and legal support to the government and the local communities involved. In 2014, the ABS agreement between MAN and the local community was signed. The process has further informed the establishment of national ABS regulations and considerably contributed to protocol awareness raising. The tandem approach for the Plant Treaty and the Protocol was modified and applied to the nexus of intellectual property rights, traditional knowledge, and IPLCs. Concretely, a ABS national focal point, a representative of the National IP Office, the National Development Planning Office, and at least 2 IPLC representatives were brought together in country teams. The initiative co-organized 2 workshops of this kind, one for Anglophone countries in Namibia and a second one for Francophone countries in Morocco. The workshops fostered a shared understanding of the different existing intellectual property instruments, traditional knowledge issues, value chain development, and their interplay with the Nagoya Protocol. Country teams started outlining national approaches for improved valorization of biological and genetic resources. In order to support and complete the global monitoring system, the ABS initiative developed a concept that enables authorities of providing countries to monitor crucial results from the utilization of their genetic resources abroad. Software with language search algorithms automatically screen public data banks on scientific publications and patents to identify successful R&D based on the information provided by PIC and MAT. Such a system would increase the confidence of typical provider countries in the international ABS system and reduce their reliance on the compliance systems developed by typical user countries.